It's that time of the day which brings the European domestic season to very much a close, the domestic football season, that is. Why? Because it is that time where you will be having a UEFA Champions League final, and what a final indeed it is, because it's pitting a side up against, or rather a very dominant side up against one side that can at best be considered plucky underdogs, and in some ways just a little bit lucky to have made it as far as they did. Manchester City come into this particular match knowing full well that should they actually end up getting a win, they will have become only the second English side to have sealed a treble. Inter Milan, on the other hand, have made it the first final that of their history since 2010, which incidentally was also the last time they ended up winning this particular trophy. They haven't won it since. In fact, they've had long spells without actually even making it into the tournament. So, which of these two sides would be considered favorites and why? Let's first look at Manchester City, who, in not just my but pretty much everyone else's opinion, would in fact be considered the ultimate favorites going into this match. Not just due to the fact that they are a well-oiled machine, there have been one side that have been tough to handle, not just domestically, but also when it comes to the European competitions as well. They've just been too hot to handle. They've been far too good more often than not, and truth be told, it just doesn't end up, let's say, flattering any side if they lose to them, because they've just been so good. And Man City this year have been a side so complete that, well, let's say they managed to get past even the most toughest of opposition through sheer brilliance. It's a side that are firing on all cylinders, and of course they have someone like an Erling Haaland who has been getting so many crucial goals, breaking so many records. But even beyond Haaland, this has been one side that has been so magnanimously complete that, as I said, it's hard to look past them being anything but the favorites in this particular case. Can you say anything else except them being the side to beat? Pep Guardiola, it's worth noting, hasn't won a Champions League final for quite a while now. In fact, he's not even made it to a final since the days he was the Bayern or the Barcelona manager. 4 times with Bayern Munich, he ended up failing in the semi-finals, and unfortunately, despite the fact that he's won 2 Champions Leagues, his Champions League career has become cast as being that of a nearly man. Therefore, he too would be wanting to put that record right. But it isn't just, of course, the likes of Haaland who they'll be relying on. They have the likes of Bernardo Silva, Ilkay Gundogan, who's of course the ultimate clutch player, and someone like Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, to bring that creativity, to bring that spark. They can call on Julian Alvarez from the bench. So there is plenty of quality in this City side. And again, it's hard to really look past just how much of a dominant side they are, and why, more importantly, they start this final as clear favorites. In fact, this would probably be one of those matches, or one of the biggest mismatch finals in recent history as far as the Champions League is concerned. And the fact that we're saying this despite Inter Milan being 4-time champions really does speak volumes. Now, we can of course switch our focus to Inter Milan, because again, they're also one of those sides that, truth be told, are in fact a very interesting case study. Remember, they won the Champions League all the way back in 2010, but since then never come close to sniffing another final. In fact, their financial peril, as well as the fact that Serie A became a less attractive league as far as finances were concerned, did in fact end up impacting them rather poorly. But now this particular side is young and hungry for a lot of, let's say, glory. In fact, this side, don't forget, ended up breaking their drought of winning or their lack of wins in Serie A in the 2019-20 season. Under Antonio Conte, they'd spent a bit of money, they played some very good football, and they had become the champions of Italy once again. Of course, that has also been followed by other successes. They won the Supercoppa, they won the Coppa Italia, and of course now they'd want to ensure that that round of success is completed by them claiming their 4th Champions League title. Who their key players would be? Well, it's hard to look past their 2-star strikers. You have a Romelu Lukaku, you have a Lautaro Martinez, both of whom will be very key. There's a Milan Skriniar, who is of course going to be leaving the club at the end of this season, because he's already signed a pre-contract with PSG. But it's hard to look past the strike force of Lula, who will be key. And manager Simone Inzaghi, well, he's really overseen one of those runs for the ages, because yes, Inter did get favoured by the luck of the draw a little bit, but there's no denying the fact that they deserve to be here, because, well, they beat whoever was in front of them, and that included, of course, their city rivals AC Milan. So it really has been a good time for Inter. Of course, they're nowhere close to winning the Scudetto or the Serie A. They were well off that race, but the fact that they've made it to a European final would mean that they're giving themselves at least a fighting chance, if nothing else. But again, as I said, City this time are proving to be too good. But if there's any side that can really cause upsets, it would be Inter Milan. Again, go back to 2010, and if you remember just how well they had played that game on that particular night, Bayern Munich at that point were being managed by Louis van Gaal. They were definitely favourites. In fact, Bayern at that time too were looking at completing a treble. So whoever won the 2010 final, whether it be Bayern, whether it be Inter, were in fact going to do the treble. It was in fact Inter Milan managed by Louis van Gaal's, let's say, protege, Jose Mourinho, who ended up doing it thanks to a double from Diego Milito. They defended resolutely. They got the goals when it mattered the most. You're going to have to see something similar from them today. Otherwise, this City side are just going to steamroll them. Again, when you're talking about finals that were one-sided in recent memory, you think back to maybe the last final that was this one-sided would have been in 2019 when Liverpool took on Tottenham. Yes, Spurs to defy the odds absolutely to get there, but Liverpool were the clear favourites and everybody knew it. This time too, Inter have defied quite a few odds to get here, but City are the clear favourites. One thing we know for sure though, regardless of whatever predictions we might be trying to make, is that this is going to be an absolute cracker of a match. It's definitely going to be a tactical battle, because I think personally that the Italian side, Inter Milan, are going to be looking to play a little bit of old school catenaccio or counter-attacking football. They're going to look to sit deep, soak up the pressure and hit City on the counter-attack whenever possible. City, they're going to do what they do best, which is dominate the possession and hope to create chances, especially through Erling Haaland, but also the likes of Ilkay Gundogan, who's probably been one of their best clutch players in recent history and who himself could very well be out the door at City with his contract expiring. Don't forget though, it's the other players who can also make an impact. There's a De Bruyne, a Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, the likes of Julian Alvarez, as well as Phil Foden off the bench. So there's plenty of quality, and that is why I say City start favourites. But if you're rooting for an underdog win, I won't blame you. You can let us know in the comments who it is you guys are rooting for in this particular final. And don't forget to join Sports Today Live, as we'll be joining you guys to discuss the final when it is done. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well. Plus, if you're already on the channel, go ahead and check out some other videos that we've done, and don't forget to download the AajTak app. For now, from my side, goodbye.